In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to cover checking your valve clearance on a four-stroke bike. It's something that's really important. The manuals generally recommend every 15 to 20 hours. It's something that should be checked just to avoid problems down the road. Once you start losing clearance on a valve, typically that means the valve is worn out and it's going to need replacing real soon. So what I'm going to do is cover checking the valve clearance. We're going to go over how to do it. It's real easy. I can usually do it in about 15-20 minutes, something that's really quick. So we're going to cover that right quick and show you how to do it. Okay, what I've got here, first thing you're going to need to do is remove the seat and then pull the tank off the bike. Once you've got that off, you need to clean everything around the inside of the frame, anything that could fall down into the valve, the cam area. You don't want any dirt in there because it'll cause problems. I've already got this one down to that point. We've already got the valve cover off. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you can't get to that, then you might want to ask somebody to help you out with it. So we're already this far. We're ready to get the feeler gauge out, and we're going to check the valve clearances on it now. Okay, you've got the valve cover off now, and what you'll need to do, I've already pulled the plugs out of the ignition cover. The lower plug, and this goes for most any bike. This bike happens to be a 2008 Suzuki RMZ 250. They're all more or less the same. You definitely, and I've said this over and over, you need to have a factory service manual for any bike that you own. It's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of trouble. But they're all going to be very similar. You pull the one in the very center of the ignition cover is going to have the crank nut, the flywheel nut on the end of it. This gives you something to rotate the crank with. Usually there's going to be one either above that one or up to the front of it. That's going to have your, it shows the flywheel. You can see your ignition timing marks. I probably can't see from the video, but up inside of here, on the flywheel, there's actually two marks on the flywheel. The first mark, as you rotate the engine, it'd be counterclockwise looking at it this way, which is that's the normal rotation of the engine. As you rotate the flywheel over, you're going to see the two marks. The first mark is actually your ignition timing mark. That's where the coil actually fires the spark plug. It comes a little bit ahead of time because you always want the spark to hit before top dead center. Then your second mark that you roll around to is going to be top dead center. Again, these marks can be a little bit different from one bike to the next, so it's always a good thing to refer to the factory service manual, and that's going to tell you where you need to be. But the engine needs to be set at top dead center, and that's got you set up, and you're ready to be able to check your valve clearances at that point. Okay, on the Suzuki, actually the Yamahas are the same way, the Kawasaki's are the same way. Once you're at top dead center, you're going to have timing marks that line up with the edge of the valve cover. You can see right here is your timing mark on the intake cam. This is your timing mark on the exhaust cam. As long as those are in line, you've got your top dead center mark on the flywheel in the sight window lined up. Then you know you're at top dead center, and now you're ready to start checking your valve lash. Okay, what we've got here is just your standard set of feeler gauges. This particular set happens to be it's marked in thousandths of an inch, and it's also marked in millimeters. The factory service manuals, they'll give you both, what the lash should be in both metric and in standard in inches. I'm so used to inches. That's what I measure everything by. Basically, on the RMZ 250, the valve lash is going to be between it's 0.0039 thousandths on the intake side to 0.0059. Basically, what you're shooting for there is somewhere between 4 to 6 thousandths. As long as you're in that range, you're good. On the exhaust side, it's 0.0069, and on the upper limit is 0.0087, so pretty much on the exhaust you're shooting somewhere between about 7 to about 9 thousandths on that one. What we're going to do is we're going to check the intake side first. That's on the carburetor side of the bike. So what I'll do is I'm going to start out with a 5 thousandths feeler gauge, and we're going to slide that up you run it up under the cam lobe, between the lobe and the bucket, as you can see, this feeler gauge slides in really easy. There's basically no resistance at all. So we're going to move to the other side. It's kind of up underneath the cam cap, so it's a little harder to see. But we're going to slide up under it, and the 5 thousandths feeler gauge goes right in. So from there, we're going to move up. We'll move to a 6 thousandths feeler gauge and see what that comes up with. Okay, we've got our 6 thousandths feeler gauge. We're going to check that one. The 6 thousandths will not go in. This would be considered the right intake. So it'll not go in, so that tells me we're somewhere on that one, probably around 5.5. The 5 was loose, the 6 it won't go. On the left valve, same thing on this one. We can't get a 6 thousandths feeler gauge in, so we know we're right at 5.5 thousandths on both of the intake valves, which is well within spec. We're going to leave those alone. Now we're going to move to the exhaust side. Okay, now we're going to move over to the exhaust side and check the clearance on that. The right exhaust lobe, right between the bucket and the cam lobe. This is 7 thousandths feeler gauge. It slides in easy. We go to the right, or the left lobe. Feeler gauge slides right in. So that's 7 thousandths. We know we're not too tight. We've got plenty of our clearance is good on that side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move up to an 8 thousandths feeler gauge. The 8 thousandths on the right hand side goes in. That one's actually good and snug. We're going to consider that. That should be really good there. The left exhaust valve, the 8 thousandths goes in there. A little bit snug. There's a little bit of resistance, but that's fine. That's telling me these are pretty much dead on 8 thousandths. What I'm going to do now is just try it with a 9 thousandths feeler gauge. That's at the outer limit of the spec. As you can see, the 9 thousandths will not go in. It's not going to go in that one. Not going to go in here. So at this point, we're safe to say that this the valve clearance on this bike is correct. Okay, on the Kawasaki's, the Suzuki's, and the Yamahas, typically they recommend just a little bit of sealant right here in the slots for the cams. So what we're going to do, I'm going to use some. It's actually Honda Bond. They make Kawasaki Bond. They make Yamaha Bond. Any of these work. It's just a light gray sealant. All you need is just a little bit on there. And before you do this, you want to make sure that you've gone over the whole valve cover surface where the sealing surface. Make sure that that's really clean, free of oil, free of any kind of dirt. And from there, just a light coat of the Kawasaki or the Honda Bond or the Yamaha Bond, either one works. Right here on the corners and the bridge between the two slots, and then on this slot. Like I say, just a very light coating. This stuff really doesn't take much, and that's just gonna guarantee that you won't have any leaks. Okay, at this point, the valve cover, you should have the valve cover completely clean, no dirt anywhere. And what you're going to do is just slide the valve cover into place. Make sure that the gasket is in correctly. You don't want to pinch the gasket or you will have an oil leak. From there, it's just kind of a matter of working the valve cover in. Set it right in, make sure everything is lined up, and it should sit down on there nice and flush. From there, you'll put your valve cover bolts back in and tighten everything down. From there, I mean, that's pretty much it. Okay, just to kind of recap on this. Again, checking the valve clearance is important. You'll avoid a lot of problems down the road if you make sure you keep your valve clearance checked.